So, thought for the day. As some of you may or may not know, I'm still in the process of trying out my Brunt boots to do a final review. Well, in the process of wearing them still and doing my research to build up to the final review, I found something kind of interesting. And I kind of wanted to point it out before I do my final review because it did definitely change my opinion. And it also kind of sort of put a wrench in what I'm doing because I went from being like, okay, I'm almost done. I could probably do a video to, okay, it might be a little longer because things have changed. So what I'm kind of sort of pointing at here is 9 times out of 10, when you look at a pair of Brunts online, whether it's on their Facebook page or TikTok or whatever, 9 times out of 10, something you're going to find is people in the comments crapping on Brunt and saying their other brand of boots that they wore for 20 years that's far better, right? And so that kind of sent me down a rabbit hole of looking into these other brands that these other boots people swear by. And one of the things that I found kind of interesting is the boots that people are saying a lot of times are far superior than Brunt's. The build quality is almost identical. Now, again, keep in mind what I'm saying isn't factual 100% of the time. There's obviously times where, the boot that people are referring to is completely different. But a lot of the times, the boot that people are referring to is almost identical. Now, keep in mind what I'm talking about right now doesn't pertain to the leather. It doesn't pertain to the Goodyear weld or any of that stuff. I'm talking about one-to-one identical boots that are basically the same. And I've looked at Red Wing, I've looked at Irish Setter, I've looked at Keen, right? And other than the fact that I haven't bought these boots and held them in my hand, on paper, these boots are identical. So if you take the time and go look, right? Again, one of the things that people complain about from Brunt is the sole, right? It's a two-piece sole. And that's one of the reasons that they kind of sort of cheat to make the boot ridiculously comfortable, because 90% of that sole is going to be foam. So you're basically walking on clouds. And then there's a little sliver of polyurethane glued to the bottom that gives you your slip resistance. For a while, I was like, well, that's going to be one of my talking points for my review, right? Because they're kind of cheating in a way. That's their way of being able to give you a boot that's going to basically do what you need at the job site, but also make it ridiculously comfortable because it's just foam. But falling down the rabbit hole of looking up other brands, a lot of other companies are doing it. And a lot of these other companies are the same companies that people swear are better. So it makes me wonder, are they really better, or are people just crapping on Brunt to crap on Brunt? Or is there a bigger problem here that we're maybe not seeing? Again, I'm not talking about the leather itself. I'm not talking about the sole being glued on. I'm not even talking about any of that because, again, most any company that you buy from is going to have a glued on sole somewhere in their boots. Most other companies are going to have different leather. It all just depends. But I will say this. In the process of doing my research, these other big brands that people swear are better than Brunt, even on paper, are, in that retrospect, exactly identical. I've literally ran across other brands like Keen or Irish Setter or Red Wing that in their description has the same leather as Brunt listed, the same identical soles as Brunt listed. Like, I'm talking about word for word, almost in detail. Like the barn resistant leather and all that crap that Brunt, talks about. Same thing is posted on these other pages. And we're talking about $200, $250 boots from other brands that you would expect to be like much higher quality that people are swearing by. But yet, description wise, identical to Brunt's. So, just something I wanted to point out that you might want to look into. Again, it differs highly. Some of the people that are talking about they wore this other boot, that's better than Brunt may be a completely different boot. But I'm only referring to the Brunt Marin versus like these other brands version of the Marin. So like a mock toe style boot. And a vast majority of these mock toe style boots that have a wedge sole, the sole is identical. It's glued on. It's a two-piece sole, giant piece of foam, piece of polyurethane glued to it. Same thing Brunt's doing, except Brunt's doing it for like $150. So again, the other companies are saying that they're using barn leather or whatever, barn abuse leather, whatever the heck it's called. So maybe their leather's nicer quality. Maybe it holds together better. I don't know. But just a little thing you might want to look into before you listen to the complaints and the hype. Again, I'm not on either side at the moment because, again, I'm still trying mine out. But do your research before you're like, oh my God, everybody's saying Brunts are horrible. Because at the same time, if you actually do your research, there's a giant divide. There's just as many people saying that Brunts suck that there is that say Brunts are amazing. So it's also another one of those things where maybe Brunts just aren't for you, or maybe Brunts are for you. Who knows? Everybody's different. I mean, I literally worked for a year at a warehouse where everybody in there literally was having to wear high dollar rated boots because it was a hard job. And I was able to get by wearing like a $15 pair of Walmart tennis shoes. Granted, I was having to swap them out like every month because they would fall apart. But, I mean, I was able to get by wearing them because they were a giant piece of foam and I wanted comfort on a concrete floor. So that's what I'm saying. Like, people's abuse levels are going to be different. So, if you're not hard on boots, maybe you try Brunt. If you're hard on boots, maybe not try Brunt. Is basically what I'm saying. But yeah, fruit for thought. Next video.